Guys, look, I know we're all pissed about the Batman getting delayed to 2022, but Warner Brothers just made it up to us. They announced a Batmobile cartoon series called Batwheels. Yay! Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on another episode of Side Flick. My name is Chris. We've got a lot of movie news to dive into today. Stuff we're going to be talking about today is, yes, a couple of movies we were all looking forward to have now been pushed. We're going to be touching upon the new cast for the Resident Evil reboot, even talking about the Sonic universe expanding with a solo Jim Carrey movie. That is so much more, guys, so I'm going to need you movie fans to leave your opinions down below on all the movie topics we discuss here today. Your voice are the most important part of Side Flick. Thank you for supporting Spook Your Mama Month. If I could also just ask you guys, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. I know a lot of you guys have been telling me that YouTube has unsubscribed you or isn't even informing you when a new video is out, so make sure you're subscribed and hit that little bell notification just to make sure you always get some good movie news in your life, as well as tickling that like button for me in a very appropriate way, please. As we like to do here on Side Flick, the first story we're going to dive into is a smaller movie you probably haven't heard anything about, but the premise sounds interesting, and hey, I want to bring it forward to you guys. Deadline here is reporting of a new movie that's going to star Andy Samberg, Craig Robinson, and Common. And the premise of this one is probably one of my favorite in a while. Deadline here has reported that New Line lands hot package Super High. And this is what the movie is going to be about. According to sources, the film is a superhero comedy where smoking special weed gives you superpowers. Sources said it was a 7-figure deal for the script alone with a production commitment included. I don't know about you guys out there, but I love me some Andy Samberg in my life. Just the movies he's been involved with, from Hot Rod, Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, which if you haven't seen that, go check that movie out. And just most recently, the film he came out with this year, Palm Springs on Hulu, also a really great film. The dude is just such a fun comedian to watch, and with a premise like this where after you smoke a certain kind of Juby-Jew, can't say the W word too many times, YouTube don't like that, you will start to get superpowers, and there you go, you have your movie. In a way, this kind of sounds like the stoner version of the movie we just got on Netflix, Power, with Jamie Foxx, but I'm thinking this one's gonna turn out way better because it's not even gonna take itself seriously. It's gonna use that premise and go full on comedic with it. And this is just kind of the world we live in right now, where Hollywood wants to make movies about superheroes, but not a lot of studios own the rights to big superhero names like an Iron Man, a Captain America, a Batman, a Superman. So instead they have to make up their own stories, and this right here sounds fun enough. It's also interesting to know that the studio paid a lot of money for this movie and that they plan to put just as much money back into the film. So this is going to be looking like a high budget film where it's not going to hold back on some of these superpowers that Andy Samberg and the team are going to get. Plus that title, Super High, perfect, man. How is Seth Rogen not in this movie? He could be the villain. How do you guys feel about this superhero parody movie with Andy Samberg called Super High? Alright, we had some good news. Now let's get into the only bad news of Side Flick. Warner Brothers went ahead and shifted around a bunch of their movies, making us have to wait so much longer for the films we're dying to see. Now the reason Warner Brothers went ahead and delayed a lot of their films instead of releasing some of them next year or at the end of this year like they were planning to is just because, well, people did not show up at the theater when Tenet and New Mutants came out. It's been a real snail pace of people returning to theaters, and studios are just not confident enough that by the Christmas season everything will recover in time for their big blockbusters. And by order of release date, these are the new dates for the movies we were looking forward to. Dune is now coming out October 1st, 2021, which was originally the date for the Batman. Matrix 4 with Keanu Reeves is now set for December 21st, 2021. The Batman got moved all the way to March 4th, 2022. Really breaks my heart there. The Flash got moved to November 4th, 2022. At least that one is staying in the same year. And Shazam 2, boy, Fury of the Gods, all the way to June 2nd, 2023. Boy, do you want them kids to have beards when you see this movie? Along with that, some films that don't even have release dates now, like Black Adam and the Minecraft movie, it's just kind of up in the air when we'll see them. The Black Adam movie is for sure 100% still happening. I think Warner Brothers is just trying to figure out if they can strategize to release that movie in 2021 or if it has to be a 2022 2022 release date. The Rock has put in so much time and effort into this film, there's no way he's gonna let that die. But the Minecraft movie, on the other hand, I would not be surprised if some major changes happen to that film. Either it gets canceled or they get rid of the live action element that they were gonna go with for this Minecraft movie and go fully CGI, like we're seeing a lot of films starting to come out in Hollywood, because these animated movies are just easier to make in the times of the pandemic, that maybe this Minecraft movie doesn't need to be a live action / CGI hybrid like they were originally planning. Out of these films that Warner Brothers went ahead and delayed, which are the ones that got you the most upset? Which broke your heart the most? Give me your opinions down below on that. And speaking of movies that got delayed, this was announced while I was editing this episode of Side Flick. Colin Trevorrow, the director of Jurassic World Dominion, also known as Jurassic World 3 or Jurassic Park 6, came out and let us know that the film has been moved to June 2022. Man, we thought everything was coming 2021. Looks like everything's moving to 2022. He had this to say on the statement: "For the past 3 months, I've worked with an extraordinary cast and crew on a film we can't wait to share with the world. Even though we'll have to wait a bit longer, it'll all be worth it. Let's stay healthy and take care of each other until then." Giving us a look at one of the first official posters for Jurassic World Dominion. And you know what? This is pretty sweet looking. It's simple, plain, but it does the job. It's mainly also just to know what other cast members are involved with this film. At this point, with everything just getting continuously delayed, we shouldn't be surprised here. But at least now we know he's not being pressured or rushed to finish this film, and then hopefully in 2022 all of this will be over and we get to enjoy Jurassic World Dominion. How do you guys feel about this delay and the new poster? Getting to some WTF news in the world of movies, they are planning to make a live action Thomas the Tank Engine movie. Deadline here has it reported that Thomas and Friends' new movie in the works from Mattel Films and Mark Foster's production company. Now the movie is going to be produced and directed by the man who brought us World War Z and Quantum of Solace, but he also did the film Christopher Robin, and I thought that was pretty cute. This Thomas the Tank Engine movie is going to be a mixture of live action and CGI, so obviously it'll probably have some human characters thrown in there, and the trains themselves will be CGI, even though I don't think it'd be that hard to do a live action train. And this is just one that I'm like, what do you do with it? What could you possibly do with Thomas the Tank Engine that would make me want to go to the theater to see this, especially since I don't have a child of my own to take to? I mean, that would be the only reason I would go see Thomas the Tank in theaters. But for you movie fans out there, you hear about a Thomas the Tank Engine movie live action happening. How could that work, and are you even interested? Getting from there, something I am really curious about how it's going to turn out, this horror movie reboot of the Resident Evil franchise. This has been something that's been in the works for a while. They've been promising to reboot Resident Evil. They just took a major step by announcing the entire main cast for this Resident Evil reboot, and I like it. But there's a lot of people who do not like this cast. Let me list them off and see how you feel about it. We have here Kay Scodelario as Claire Redfield, Hannah John Kamen as Jill Valentine, Robbie Amell as Chris Redfield, Tom Hopper as Albert Wesker, Yvonne Yoga as Leon S. Kennedy, and Neil McDowell as William Birkin. The story plot points for this new Resident Evil movie go as an official origin story adapted with faithful ties to Capcom's classic survival horror games. The story is set in 1998 on a fateful night in Raccoon City. And when you put these characters side by side to their video game counterparts, some of them don't look exactly the way they're supposed to, but that doesn't really matter as long as you bring what the character is supposed to be like in the video games onto the big screen. And some of these names really stick out to me, like we have the girl from Crawl in there. I really loved her in that movie, so I'm happy she's in here. Can't forget about the boy from Victorious in here. Happy to see you making some strides in Hollywood, as well as Luther from Umbrella Academy coming in there. I can't wait for them to put some sweet shades on him. I think the cast is pretty well rounded enough, has enough familiar looking faces where I think this could be a fun little ride. To me, the most hesitant part about this project is the director, because it's being made by the same guy who brought to us The Strangers 2, and even though I actually did find some enjoyment out of that film, I won't argue anybody who says that film is bad and they hated it, because I could understand why someone would feel that way. They are set to start making this movie by the end of this year so that we could have it in 2021. We'll see if that even happens. But a more horror center focused Resident Evil movie, instead of making it an action film, this large broadcast, making it faithful to the video games, I think you have the setup here for a really good movie. If you mess it up, I was gonna be really disappointed. How are you guys feeling about this Resident Evil reboot? Do you like the cast? Do you like the people attached? Do you think this movie could turn out good? Let me know. Speeding over our way to our little furry friend, Sonic the Hedgehog, even though this story kinda doesn't have to do with Sonic himself. There's reports going around right now from reliable scooper Daniel Richmond where he is saying that Paramount is considering a solo live-action movie for Jim Carrey's Robotnik. It looks here like Paramount loved the success that Sonic the Hedgehog the movie brought to its studio, so much so that they really want to try to expand this universe further than just a couple of sequels to the Sonic franchise, to where they're looking at options for a spin-off. And I want to be clear here, the reports are just saying that they're considering it, so it doesn't mean it will officially happen, that they're actually going to push forward with it, because, well, they need Jim Carrey to say yes, and we Jim Carrey fans know the man rarely likes to do sequels. We're lucky he's going to show up in Sonic Movie 2. I don't know if he's willing to do a spin-off movie all on his own. Still, even if you don't have Jim Carrey, you could still do this Robotnik's prequel. One thing I did notice a lot in the Sonic movie when I was watching it is that Jim Carrey's Robotnik really loved to talk about his past, growing up, being a genius, getting bullied in high school. That right there is your setup for the Robotnik solo movie, showing us him as a kid growing up as this super genius and using his technology either to gain his way or to also help out the US government. Because before he was fighting Sonic in that Sonic movie, the government was basically having him take care of some of their problems. I usually hate the idea of spin-off movies that don't deal with your main character of the franchise, but something like this I would be 100% up for, and it makes sense with Hollywood right now. Everything has to be a cinematic universe. Even Robert Downey Jr. was talking about how the Sherlock Holmes movies and the third one he's coming out with, he hopes he can spin that off into multiple movies to its own Sherlock Holmes cinematic universe. Sonic, if anything, does deserve one. It's a huge world with literally multiple worlds out there and great characters to expand from. If Jim Carrey goes ahead and says yes to a solo Robotnik movie, will you Sonic fans be willing to watch that? Jumping into something else that I found pretty surprising, we have our confirmation that Spider-Man 3, that I think a lot of us are now looking forward to with the inclusion of Jamie Foxx's Electro in it, is gonna start filming next week. Yeah, that's right. This film is getting ready to start filming in New York pretty soon. We know this because some filming permits have been posted outside the streets of New York, letting the pedestrians know, don't park your vehicle here because a film that is being called Serenity Now, which if you've been following the Spider-Man news, you'll know that's the working title for Spider-Man 3. And no, people always get confused. The working title is just what they use when the film is currently being filmed. It's a reference to a Seinfeld episode. All the working titles for this Homecoming series have been Seinfeld episodes. Don't know what that's about. But really, this doesn't even blow my mind because we're getting Spider-Man 3 filming so soon. But it's like, we just heard Tom Holland was barely filming Uncharted. Did he already finish that movie and is now jumping to Spider-Man 3? Also to point out, if next week Spider-Man 3 is filming, that means we're going to start seeing set photos of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, possibly our first look of the new suit if he's going to get one. I personally would rather them stick with the current suit they have now. I think the suit we're all interested to see is Electro's look, because we heard he's not going to be looking blue like in the previous incarnation. How do you guys feel about Spider-Man 3 filming so soon? But that is just all the movie news we have going on right now, guys. Let me know your opinions on everything we've discussed here today. What story did you like? What didn't you like? Don't forget to be subscribed to the channel. Hitting that like button goes a long way for me. You guys can follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.